So welcome to another installment of what I'm calling TOTHCARDS. It's where I talk about Alex Toth and I share some of his postcards that he sent me, postcards and letters. So first of all, for those who might be new and don't know who Alex Toth is, he didn't do all these covers, but I'm going to just quickly show some of his comics, the ones that I have anyway. I mean, there's all kinds of them, but he was a really versatile artist. American cartoonist, regarded in a way as the artist. He did all kinds of stuff. He worked in comics, he worked in animation, designing a lot of stuff for Hanna-Barbera. So this is just like a random sampling of some comics I have of his that he illustrated. So this one's from like 1972, and it's a story about a hawk horse, a flying horse. It looks to me like Alex was inspired by Clint Eastwood. If you look at the faces here, he was just a master at storytelling, graphic appeal, panel layout, page planning, and he even altered his style through the years. He got more graphic as the years went on. Like I say, it kind of looks to me like Clint Eastwood if you can look at some of these faces. And look at the drawing. Just wonderful. And he really was a cartoonist. He called himself a cartoonist. He wasn't saying like, I'm going to be a super photorealistic illustrator. And he wasn't trying to be sort of that super rendered thing. You know, he once wrote me, muscles don't tell stories. He wasn't a muscle artist. That's a subject for another video. So I'm going to go through some of these quickly and then get to the postcard. But I mean, he was just incredibly great at drawing, graphic appeal, using silhouettes, page layouts. And again, I'm going to make more videos talking about that. It's kind of like I'm trying to keep these so they're not too long. And I kind of, would get excited and go on about this guy. But it's the kind of work that's so good that you can go back to it and back to it. Any artist that knows Alex Toth's work knows what I'm talking about. You find new things in it. It was so good. No faking. I mean, he had that rare quality of verisimilitude. I wrote him this once and asked him how he did it. It feels like he's on screen sketching or something real. He convinces you that he really was there. And yet he wasn't. I mean, he's making this stuff up out his head. But he understood design, page design so well that he convinces you. This is Hot Wheels. This is another great story. And did he ink this one? I don't remember. I think he did. Yeah. Some of them were inked by Dick Giordano. It's fantastic. But again, analysis of those for another day. My battered copies, such as I have left. And here's the House of Secrets. Let's see which story he did. Different people. Yeah, this one's like in pinks, all colored in pinks. And I'll show you last. Again, this is for the benefit of people who don't know who he was. This is an issue of Creepy magazine devoted to his work. And I'll just, oops, gotta get some tape on that, Paul. I love this story, Daddy and the Pie. It's a story about an alien that crash lands on Earth. And I guess it's set like in the 1940s. And it's a story about friendship, bigotry in this small town. Really good. And it's true storytelling, epic. So look at this, silhouettes. He was a master about silhouettes, and he understood how to use them. So I corresponded on and off with him for many years. I guess you could say I was a friend, not a close friend, but he extended the hand of friendship. I asked him all kinds of questions. I can relate more of the story in other videos. Again, I'll get too long-winded. And I'm just today going to read a short postcard. But yeah, we corresponded, and occasionally I phoned him. I went to visit him a couple of times in real life. And he was just a great guy. So also people, I just want to address this quickly. People might think out there in internet land, like, why is this guy reading his private postcards? Really, most of them don't cover anything particularly personal. We were just corresponding like friends sitting around, having a beer, chatting about stuff, except we did it by postcard. And like I said, occasionally phone calls, which as I remember, were very long. But of course, those weren't recorded. Those are phone calls. So he was, I think, pretty isolated in the later part of his life. That's well known. And so he liked corresponding with all kinds of people. I was favored to be one of them. And so I thought, you know, as a way of keeping his work and legacy in front of younger people who might be interested, hey, I'll share I've got this whole stack of letters and postcards, and I've got a binder over there of more of them, and I'm trying to scan them because, as you can see, some of them are fading. And so I thought, you know, I'd share them and see if there's anything interesting, either just for their own sake, because I know a lot of people are catching up with the internet with his work, and for their own sake, and maybe there's things I can talk about from my career that link into that. But anyway, this one's fading, so they're all from different eras too, because I didn't write them by no means every week, but they're from different times. This I've written responses to questions 6 to 10 because I interviewed him and did an article in Comic Book Artist magazine, and I wrote him batches of, we arranged that I would write him batches of 5 questions at a time about art, and I'm going to do a video on that too, that whole interview. 5 questions at a time about art technique, and then I kind of digested his answers and collected them into a published article. So this one is from 1985, 15 July 1985, and I was working in a studio, 266 Adelaide Street West, long ago. And he says, "Dear Paul, Pat Boyette, who is another great comic book artist," he says, "Pat Boyette, colleague of Fred Himes of Impact Productions, San Antonio, Texas, wonders how you colored Mechanix #1. He'd not seen anything quite like it before, so is curious, as am I now after our chat about it." So Mechanix, of course, by Jaime Hernandez, was issued by Fantagraphics, and they had hired me to color it. So I did it in the European way, which was, you know, the way they do their European albums. I don't have an example of it here to show, but I'll describe it. And so you have a film, what's called a film positive, which is just simply the black and white line art on a piece of clear film on top, like a layer, just like in Photoshop, a layer. And then underneath, you would trace the shapes of each color section. Sometimes that would be done with a blue line, but in that case, they didn't have the money, so, or did they? I can't remember. I might have just traced each shape, which was a bit tedious on a light table. So I had done that, and I guess I had talked to Alex about that, and then his friend at this reproduction place, Impact Productions, had seen these and then got curious. So that's my digression, what he's asking me about. It's old school stuff before we have computers and internet and, you know, Photoshop with layers, which of course makes stuff much easier. Although other things are lost. And again, that's another whole talk. So anyway, he says, he thinks you laid down a coat of white overall and then you painted color into it, mixing as you went along. A technique I do not savvy, so I'm asking for both of us. Tell us. So you see how he was trying to learn, even from me. I mean, I was trying to learn from him. He has the humility to just write me as this master artist and ask me about something he didn't understand. And actually, now that I'm reading this, I remember what I did. Because we didn't have money to pay for having what they do in Europe is they print the black line art on a piece of board. It's called a blue line, and they'd print it in a non-reproduction blue line, very light, but enough that the colorist could see and paint on it with, you know, gouache or ink or what have you. But I did a cheapo version of that I came up with myself, which was I just photocopied it onto thick paper. But of course, with the photocopiers, then the lines were black, and they couldn't have black lines on the artboard and then clear film over it. So what I did to get rid of that is I sprayed white acrylic paint with an airbrush. It's all come back to me over the black photocopied line on the artboard on the piece of art paper. I had it taped down so it wouldn't buckle. Sprayed it with white acrylic, and that made the line into kind of a very faint blue. So it was like a fake blue line, and then I had the clear acetate over it with the line art registered. I'm pretty sure that's what I did. And then I painted, you know, the colors. And it was great. So then he goes on to say, as you must know, everyone, including Pat and I, think your coloring of that of that book is excellent quality. I'm not surprised, of course, after your Mr. X posters, etc. Pat saw your separations, I did not. So, name brands of paints, inks, colors, etc., and your magical methods, and I'll pass it on to Pat. Or if you'd like, I know Pat would, write to Pat directly. I don't think I ever did. Dumb me. Psh, why didn't you do that? What a dork. All right, well, fortunately, Mr. Boyette has passed on, as has Alex, but older and wiser. If there's people you want to talk to now that you're in the internet age, and you want my advice, contact them and see if they'll talk to you. Okay, so that's it. He says, best to you, and hope you're well and thriving. Coming to San Diego, Alex T. And actually I did. Hey, I might repeat my stories. I might have mentioned it last time. I did actually go to San Diego and drive down the coast with him in his sort of semi-antique car from, I guess, the 60s. And we had a great old time. But, you know, that was not a common experience, but I lucked out. So there you go. I've got more to read here, but like I said, I'm keeping these short. And I'm at 11 minutes already. So I hope you enjoyed that. I'll get to more of these. I got a lot of scanning to do. He drew this fun character. I think that's supposed to be him. Maybe an internet savant will know what that is. Is that a cigar? I don't know. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. Please subscribe if you want to get the notifications about more of these. You know, the same deal. Everyone says it. Share, comment, pontificate, like, subscribe, relate, interrelate, and I'll see you later. Thank you for listening.